Welcome, friends and fellow horse fiends. You've landed on Come Ride With Me, a podcast dedicated to helping you find harmony, joy, and success in your riding. I'm your host, Anna Fox of Equus Enlightened. This pod isn't about training your horse, but about training you to be the best partner for your horse. Listen to find out how I use my intention to direct my ride. You'll hear how I decide what to focus on, what to say yes to, and when to redirect my horse. You'll see how not getting frustrated or overwhelmed is the easiest path to sanity and harmony. So, what are you waiting for? Come ride with me. Hey guys, welcome to Come Ride With Me. And today's episode is going to be about two things we talked about in previous episodes and I had some questions about, and that is passenger riding and or leading versus following. So I feel like leading, following, and passenger riding, they're all closely related, because when we're following or when we're doing passenger riding, we're not just sitting up here like a sack of potatoes doing nothing. It's an active follow. We're learning what we feel from the horse. We're learning about what the horse is feeling, what they're thinking. And I wanted to just demonstrate that for you so you can see how these things benefit your overall ride, how they benefit your feel in the saddle, and how you can incorporate them into everyday rides. Like, you could just do this for a ride, and it'd probably be a great break for your horse and just a great relationship building experience. But you could also do this at the beginning of every ride. And sometimes I do this with horses that I don't ride frequently or I don't know that well. I will do this always in the beginning just to see what's going on. So you don't have to do a whole ride like this. You could, take it and do 10-15 minutes and start where you're comfortable. I am confident on this horse, and so I don't have any problems just sort of letting her have a long rein and go about. But if you do have a horse that you're not really sure that you want to let them have all of the rein, start where you're comfortable and go from there. Because a lot of times what this type of passenger following versus leading, these types of exercises bring up for people is our fears, anxieties, and what we should be doing with our horses. And so if you have like a fear of the horse doing something that you're not going to like, them being naughty or them going too fast, whatever it is, check in with yourself. If your horse will stand quietly, just stand there for a little bit and feel them out, feel yourself out, work through that sort of feeling on your own, feel what muscles you're tightening up. It's all about regulating your nervous system, which we talked about in the last episode, and then get started. And then when you start to think, well, I should be doing this, I should be walk track cantering, or my horse should be following the rail, or they should be, ask yourself why. Why is any of that important? Especially in the here and now. So anytime I have that little brain gremlin of I should be, I ask myself why? Why? Why is that important right here and now? It's usually not. It's always better and more effective to deal with what's happening in the present with our horses than worry about the past or what we think we should be doing now or in the future. We are going to get started. I'm just going to let her sort of guide me and see where she's going to go. And I left the gate open for a reason. I felt her, immediately kind of make a bid for it. But I just followed, right? And I'm just going to follow and allow her to kind of make that bid and then just redirect her. I'm going to take the lead for a step and then I'm going to come back to following. And I'm paying attention to what she's paying attention to. Can I see what she's looking at if I think she's looking at something? Do I feel like she's tight anywhere? She tight in her back and her neck? Do I feel like her steps are even? Are they rhythmic? As she walked down to the other end of the arena, we then made a little half circle and headed back towards the gate. And then again, I'm just going to redirect their lead for a second and then give up the lead again and go following. And she's going to walk up into the corner. That's okay, right? We have a pond over here. There's lots of geese flapping around. So she's probably going to come over and take a look at that. But again, it's not something that I'm too concerned about because I'm tuned into her. I'm being present. I'm following actively. I'm feeling what I feel underneath my seat, what her back is doing. I'm paying attention to where her ears are going. You can't get too close to the camera. There we go. So this is a really active thing. I'm not thinking about the other things I need to do today, not thinking about what other work I might have. I'm not thinking about what I need to buy at the grocery store. I am simply noticing that she goes down there and then she turns right around and she comes back towards the gate. She's like, oh, can we go out? No. And she trots a little bit. That's fine. Just going to make really sure that I don't want her to go out. And so this is a great thing. Two of the techniques that I do like to have horses know when I start doing this is I like them to know the hindquarter yield, one rein stop, and sort of riding off of one side. That all goes back to what we talked about in the spooky episode about less compliance, less aids, more compliance, more aids. So if she's really tuned into the gate right here, I'm not going to do a whole lot. I'm just going to say, oh, and then that time she didn't even really ask. She just kind of did a drive-by to see if maybe I might have a reaction. But as long as she's not going out, I'm not going to do anything about it. And this is a real confidence builder for horses, especially like this one that tends to not be that confident on her own. I'm not forcing her to go anywhere. I'm not confusing her with a whole lot of aids. I'm just sitting, taking in the information, and I can start to think about, okay, so I know she's kind of developed this little pattern, right? And so what could I do to maybe change her mind on this pattern? And that is where, in the beginning, my hindquarter yield / one rein stop, or the riding just one side of the horse, comes into play. And right now, she's already like, okay, now I can use more of the arena. Maybe I'll go check out the camera. She can't really do that, so I'm gonna take the lead for a second and say, oh, can you go over here? And I'll bring her down here, and then we'll just check. I'll take the lead for a minute, and we'll check and see if how our hindquarter yield and the one rein stop maybe is working. That way, if I do think that she's going somewhere I don't want her to go, or something happens that I'm not a fan of, I can change it quickly. So the first thing I'm going to just put my leg back. Can you? Oh, and she moved her hind end over. She wanted to go a little bit forward, so if she does that, that's where the one rein comes in, right? One rein stop. So I'm going to ask her to disengage or even engage the hindquarters, and then I just lift the same rein on that side. So let's try again, see if we can tune it up a little bit. No, we're going to go backwards now. And that's fine. If she goes backwards, I'm just going to a little more leg. Good girl. Perfect. And then I'm going to try it from the left again. Yeah, good girl. And the hindquarter yield is so useful. It actually becomes, to me, it becomes a hindquarter engagement later in your training. So having the horses be very responsive to it and know what you're asking, which is basically for the inside hind to connect to the outside shoulder. And I'm doing that. I'm not having to use my outside rein to do that. It's just the momentum and me not allowing the front feet to step out that caused that to happen. Good girl. All right, so let's go on again, see what she's thinking. Is she thinking about going towards the gate? She's thinking. And so again, whoop, I'm going to take the lead. And she chose to trot. I do sort of up my energy in that moment. I'm like, oh no. But what I always do is I wait for them to really make the bid. I wait to feel that they're committed to that gate before I do anything, right? Because sometimes they can fake you out. So now she wants to stay right here, but she's not really going for the gate. So I'm going to take the lead for a second. I'm going to say, oh, can we come over here? All right. Then I can go back to following. And you notice that she's looking out, right? She's not really tuned into being in the arena, which is fine. That's why we're here. Okay, so if we're going to walk back down here into the corner, if I feel like this is going to be a pattern, now I can think about, okay, how can I kind of change it? And I'm going to start with my intention. I'm going to go, okay, can we walk down here to this end? You can pick a point, like walk to the letter C. Good girl, right? And she's still kind of looking out of the arena, checking out the corners. But again, she didn't offer to stop there. Now we're headed back towards the gate. So I'm going to say, well, could we change that? And she's like, not really. So now I'm going to go right rein, right leg. Just see if I can change it a little bit. And I'm going to pick V. And just say, can we walk over here though? Oh, and I'm going to lead and then I'm going to follow. Good girl. And so she got to the point and then I'm following, right? And so I know she maybe wants to go over into this corner. So I'm going to go, oh, well, can we go to V on this side? Oh, okay. Well, we'll go to E then. How about that?
It's okay to change your mind as long as it's your idea.
Good girl.
Notice as your horse gets more relaxed while you do this exercise.
Now she wants to cut in a little. Just say, oh, can you stay out? Can we go to R? That's cool. Now we're approaching the gate again. What's going to happen? I'm going to set my intention to go over there. Right, and I lifted my rein a little bit just to reinforce it. And now, since I know she's going to want to hang out in this corner, I'm going to go, oh, can we go to A though? Could we walk over here? Well, when she turned, she didn't really walk towards A, so that's okay. I can change my plan. Now we can go to V. Good.
Now I might start playing with changing my intention and seeing if she'll just follow it. So I might
Good girl.
look off to the right or use my torso, use my core to steer her a little bit and see how she's starting to feel about that. Is she relaxed enough now that she'll be that responsive. It's always a good test. And I can test it right now as we go by the gate again.
And again, what are we going to do? Oh, now that time I didn't set my intention to not go out the gate as early. I kind of let it ride and see how she felt about it. And she was like, oh, I think we could do it. Now I'm going to ask her, speed up a little bit. There you go. And say, oh, we're going to go. We're going to pass that gate with a little more conviction. But I'm still just using one set of aids, right? I'm just using my left side aids if I'm going left. And now, yeah, we're going to say, oh, I'm going to use my left side aids. Now this horse does know how to leg yield, so I can use my left side aids to push her into the rail. If your horse doesn't know how to leg yield yet, then I would switch back and forth. I would go to using the right, like I'm going to do right now. I'm going to steer her to A off my right side, yeah, and then let her come back. And that's fine if you have a horse that doesn't know what it means to move away from the leg just yet. That's where your hindquarter yield can help. You can start working on that and sort of advance it from there. Good girl. And you notice as we're doing this, she's getting more relaxed. She's stretching her head and neck down. She's less looky out of the arena, giving me a little bit more of her attention. And she might, she still makes the occasional, could I go over there? And I'm like, no, I think not. And again, it doesn't matter how I guide her over here, right? If I use my left side aids and leg yield, or if I use my right side aids and steer. Yeah, it's gonna turn her head the other way, but again, what does that matter? It doesn't matter right now. Good girl. Then we get some breathing. Very nice. Good girl. Now she's not even, she's gonna go, she's trying to fake me out. She's like, I'm not gonna go to the gate, but then I am. So now, again, she knows how to leg yield, so I'm gonna use my right side aids and say, oh, but could we go over here? But could we go over here?
So she did a half circle, turning conceivably away from the gate, but then she kind of made a bid back towards the gate. So I kept her going to the right now and just use my right side aids to leg yield her towards the rail.
Good, now I'm going to set my intention on A, not on the gate. Good girl. Right, so now she's relaxed into it. She's like, okay, not going to be such a bad thing.
And she walked right past the gate.
Oh, you're going to stop? Okay. Oh, good girl. Yeah, so she can get a reward for that,
For relaxing and walking right past the gate.
But with this exercise of leading and following, now I can ask her for a hindquarter yield from my right side. Good girl. And we can go walking again. Oh. Now, that time, just because I felt like she was committed to turning right, I decided I'd yield her off my left.
But you could also decide to make a yield off your right and just make kind of a full circle in the hindquarter yield if you feel like you can't redirect them, they're too committed to the direction they're going.
And she's going to do the same thing again. So I'm going to go, okay, well, that's fine. We can play a little serpentine game here for a minute if you want. I'm okay with that. So now I'm asking her with my hindquarter yield, I want you to commit to coming over here, right? And she's like, I don't know if I want to. But what I'm not going to do is I'm not going to put on a whole bunch of aids and keep fussing and mussing to make that happen. I'm going to ask, I'm going to allow, I'm going to ask and allow, until she's like, oh, okay, that's the right answer to go over there. Because if I get too many aids, then they get confused. Maybe I get confused. It gets to be not pretty. And by not pretty, I mean with the confusion. Good girl. I wish Pivo was a better willing partner today, because Pivo today is kind of on the struggle bus.
So now, after getting Pivo figured out, we can continue.
Right? And so there she's like, I'm a little more committed to the gate. I think we might be finished. No. Again, just using my right side aids though, and the stick. Not confusing it with a whole bunch of other stuff. And so now with this, I can decide, do I want to go more forward? Do I just want to keep working this at the walk? And that's a personal decision. Again, check in with yourself. How are you feeling? Are you worried that if you go trot, she's going to run out the gate? Or she's going to be too fast because she's not quite tuned into you enough yet? That's a very personal thing. Also, how much, if you want to go trotting, and you can think of your trotting work more as a leading and a following if you don't like the idea of a complete passenger game. But you decide, again, if you feel like you need a little more contact with the reins, you could get a little more contact, because for those of you that are just listening to the podcast, I've got her on the buckle right now, but not everybody's comfortable trotting their horse on the buckle. So you decide where you want to be and go from there. And then I'm going to ask her to trot, and this might be a little bit of a dangerous place because, good girl, close to the gate, see what she feels. Again, my intention is to go around, good girl. Now, right here, she's going to want to slow down and think, oh, okay, go into the corner. But what she did, she slowed down, and when I was like, okay, we can get to the corner and address it there, she decided, oh, she could keep trotting. That's exactly why we're doing this. I'm letting her know with that feeling of, oh, okay, that I'm paying attention, right, to what she's thinking. Good girl.
Pivo took a break, so we also decided to walk and take a little break.
And if they're a little unsure, I don't like to get them trotting and then like go trot for ever and ever, because the horse is just going to resent that. So what I want to do is trot for a little bit and then say, hey, let's walk and take a break. Okay. So in this direction, she's probably going to want to cut the arena over and go towards the gate. But I'm going to try to set my intention out to A again, and we're going to go trot. And she's going to cut in. That's okay. I'm going to say, oh, okay. Now, again, I could have done a leg yield. I could have done a whole lot of things. But I'm just going to kind of say, okay, well, what happens if we do this? And so she kind of trotted a little figure eight there and then walked. That's okay. That means I know that she's not really confident about trotting forward for whatever reason. More confident on this side of things. Good. So now she's a-going. She's trotting confidently around. Nice loose rein. It's not really stretching down yet, but there she goes. Yeah. Set your intention. But she came back up again. Got a little stiff there in the corner. That's okay. What I would like to do, if I can, is find a place where she's nicely stretching and then ask her to walk. Oh, good girl.
So she stretched right there, and down to the walk we went.
All right, so we trotted to the right. Oh my goodness. They're right there for a little bit. Now we'll see, can we do the same thing going to the left? And we just get a nice, oh, good girl.
Nice transition is what I was going to say. Then she did it.
And having her go freely forward is important. And I use phases of my aids to establish that.
Okay, guys, sorry about that, but Pivo kept getting caught on my microphone receiver cord, and so I just disconnected it. What I was trying to say was that I use the phases of the aids when I start working with a horse so that I can teach them to go forward easily, and once I've done that, I can get them to maintain the tempo easily. And I don't have to keep pushing or nagging the horse to go. This is also another way that you can get your horse relaxed and get your horse less confused by using less aids. And now she actually has a lovely trot going on, very relaxed. And so I'm going to see if I can catch her in a stretching moment and then ask for the walk. And she makes a really nice transition there. And I will leave her with that today because she got way more relaxed and more willing as we went along. And this is really the point of the leading and following passenger riding exercise, right? I am gathering information. I'm seeing how I can help her and make her a relaxed and willing partner. And then when I get that, then I can start to ask for harder things. I can start trying to put her together. I can ask her to slow her tempo down a little bit. But for right now, I just want a relaxed and willing partner. So thanks for joining me today, and we'll see you next time on Come Ride With Me. Happy riding. Thanks for listening to this week's episode of Come Ride With Me. My goal is to demonstrate to riders that we don't have to do something every second of a ride. We don't have to do things a certain way or at a certain time. Just staying present with your horse and gathering non-judgmental information about how they are going is way more beneficial than overthinking and overworking. If you'd like to learn more about what I do at Equus Enlightened, you can find me at equisenlightened.net or on patreon.com/Equus Enlightened. You can also find me on social media as Equus Enlightened. I will put all the links in the show notes. And until next time, happy riding. Oh, before you go, please remember to rate, review, and share this pod so others can find it. I would love constructive criticism. But like my mom used to say, if you don't have anything really nice to say, there's no need to say it. Just ride on, my friends. Have a great week.